Hey guys, Anime West Reacts here is going to be a reaction to Talentless Nana, Chapter 53. So, catching up, finally. So, 53 through 57 this video. Chapter 53 is titled Multiplication. And on the cover we got Nakajima, and in the background what looks to be like a dandelion or something. Continuing with like all the flower stuff that Nana's been doing. So yeah, this chapter starts off, we get flashback pretty much to seeing what happened to Nakajima after Nana had pushed him. So we see him waking up, someone about to like stick a needle in his arm and him freaking out, and it's like, don't. And so yeah, he like knocks the doctor over because he's like freaking out about, like, who are you, what are you doing? So the doctor tells him to calm down, says we are, and then he like looks at him with this like looks good like kill type thing, and suddenly the doctor like freaks out, and he freaks out, starts screaming, saying I'm dying, die. You see like the doctor's like nose or under the mask is like bleeding. And so then immediately Soroka comes over and just knocks the doctor out. So yeah, he like knocks the doctor out, sets him against the wall. Nakajima has disappeared, it seems like, but the vitals are still going, so yeah. Or like the monitor thing is still beeping, so yeah, Soroka says he was simply trying to collect some of your blood to see if so we could test it. It's empty, see. So you see Nakajima is still in the bed, because what we found out last chapter is that he can like, basically his ability has like not multiplied, but become even stronger in the fact that he can like not just nullify talents now, but nullify certain stuff, like if you can see him and parts of your brain can be nullified, stuff like that. So Nakajima says, who are you? Blah. I guess he like turns it off. Asks who he is. He says, I'm Soroka. I supervise talented individuals. I found you floating in the sea. I saved your life. And he's like, what happened on the island? That Nana had like pushed him. And so he's like, oh, the island, Nana-chan. And then he says, a transfer student named Hiragi Nana pushed me off a cliff. And he says, according to your records, Soroka says, according to your records, your ability, or your talent is the ability to nullify the talent of others, correct? And Nakajima's like, huh, what? And Soroka says, nothing, I found something unexpected. And it says, I always thought it was Nakajima says, I always thought it was a useless talent, but thanks to Nana-chan, I got over my issues with my dad. I finally thought I'd be at least a little useful to everyone, and that at that very moment. And then he's looking up at the ceiling, and Nakajima says, maybe Nana-chan had some reason to do for what she did. He says, she didn't seem crazy. I feel like she said she didn't want to trick me. And then Soroka says, were you a little interested in her? Nakajima says, it's not like that. And then says, oh, is that doctor alright? Because yeah, he kind of just freaked him out. Yeah. And so Soroka says, Hiragi's treasons, huh? You're a good man, Nakajima, you're a good man. And then he goes over, picks up the phone, and says, bring him. And so they bring in Nakajima's father, who immediately goes over to his son and just slaps him, it seems like. So yeah, he immediately goes over to him and slaps him. and says, "Nana, shame on you. I told you become the best. Now my company and our neighbors know that my son was the first to drop out, that he's talentless." And he's like looking at his hand, and then Nakajima says, "Soroka-san, did you see a watch when you rescued me?" And then Soroka says, "It wasn't mentioned in the report." And then he says, "Dad, I'm sorry. Listen, it looks like I lost the watch you gave me." And then his father is like, "A watch?" And Nakajima says, "Yeah, I'm really sorry. Let me start by apologizing for that." So his dad just gets even more angry. He says, "I don't care about that, you idiot." And that hits Nakajima hard. Because, yeah. And he's like, "You don't care. You gave it to me on my birthday. More importantly, you should..." or his father says, "More importantly, you should apologize to the people you inconvenience," and pulls him out the bed and tries to make him kneel on the floor with his broken leg, pretty much, saying, "Say it. Ask them to let you return to the island." And he's like, "Ow," pretty much, because he's got a broken leg. So his father's forced him to the ground, and so he's like, "Stop." Or Nakajima saying, "Stop, I told you to stop." And his father says, "How dare you look at me like that?" And immediately, I guess his ability activates, because his father, says, "Act," and then, grabs his head and is fumbling backwards, and Nakajima's like, "What?" And he's like, "Stop." And his dad, I guess, is like, "Stop." And then he screams, and he's blood coming out of his nose. And then he just falls over. And so, yeah, Nakajima's like, Dad. And he's like, "Help." And he's like, "Why?" Or Soroka's like, "Why did Hiragi try to kill you?" And he remembers backwards. And he says, "Because you're the true enemies of humanity." Or he remembers what she said to him, and then he sees his dad dead on the floor. And Nakajima's like, No, me." And he's like, "You're saying I did this?" And he's got this evil looking, or more kind of brokenish, crazy kind of face that's shaded black. As he's putting everything together, I guess. Yeah, 54 now. Yeah, we got Nakajima's backstory-ish of what happened after the island, I guess, last chapter. Or maybe a feeling it's not over yet, but yeah. Alright, so now we're back to what Hiragi and Kyoya are doing. So it says there's no way in that hallway for a person to hide. How did Nakajima sneak up behind you? And so, yeah. Hiragi's like, "I don't know." Kyoya's quiet and says, "In the first place, why is Nakajima trying to frame you?" So Nana puts her hands down, says, and goes right up to Kyoya, and he's like, "What?" Says, "I'll tell you everything." Oh wait, chapter was over. So yeah, now we're back to chapter. Now we're on chapter 55. Or wait, yeah. Sorry about that. Fucked up. Ignore that part, I guess. Not fucked up. That's what happens. So, yeah, sorry about that, but definitely messed up there. Because of the fact that, yeah. So yeah, chapter 54, because I messed up, and that was the end of chapter 54 that I just read, but yeah, so cover page of chapter 54 is Nana and Moe with all the flowers and really bright colors. Looks really pretty. the new school, but like Nana, Moe, Nakajima and Kyoya, and then Seiya and Moguo in the background, like fighting each other. So this chapter is titled Confession. And so yeah, picking up from the Nakajima backstory, like I said, it probably wouldn't finish because I ended up reading the end of the chapter by accident just then. But yeah, so we ended that last chapter off him saying, "You're saying I did this." And then Tsuruoka says, "Talented individuals can sometimes expand their powers." Blah. And then he goes like and kind of breaks it down, I guess. So this is just conjecture, but it's possible that you nullify the processes they need to live, such as their breathing and circulation. And then he says, "You're lying." And then Tsuruoka says, "But 2 humans suddenly began bleeding and collapsed." And he goes over and like puts his fingers on his dad's neck, brings out a little flashlight to like check his eyes. It's like he's dead. It's like eye dilation, basically. And so Nakajima's like freaking out, saying an ambulance, call an ambulance. And I guess like the phone rings or something. Tsuruoka goes and he like dials a number or something. He says it's me, and then it says Tsuruoka-san. Ah, okay, he gets like a call from Nana, I guess. And so yeah, Nakajima's like there listening. It says Tsuruoka-san. He says, "What's your condition?" He says, "Oh, everything's going well." Okay, so now this is when Nana was chasing after Itaru, basically. He says, "You're short of breath. We're in the middle of hunting down an enemy of humanity." And then it says Hiragi, and then she says, "Yes, sir." And then he says, "Once this mission is over," and then Nakajima's like, "Why? What's going on? My dad is lying on the floor. What is this man discussing with Nana-chan? What is he doing?" And he says, "People speak highly of you." She says, "Thank you." And he says, "Now then, Hiragi Nana attempted to kill you on my orders. Just as you hoped, Hiragi had a reason to commit murder." Yeah. "At first glance, your father may seem like a horrible man, but reaching this underground facility isn't easy. The moment we contacted him to confirm your identity, he acted. He used his considerable wealth and connections to come here and see the face of his only son." So yeah, he like picks the bag up that his father had and like pours it out and says he seemed harsh because he loved you, and the bag was full of like has like a PSP basically, or SPS, and a bunch of video games and comic books and stuff. He says, "But you killed him." So yeah. So immediately Nakajima's like, "No, you're wrong, it wasn't me." And like immediately just breaks down crying and says, Zoro's like, "I know you had a reason, right? You hadn't realized how your own talents had changed." And then I was like, what are you smiling about?" Because yeah, Zoro like got his hand on his shoulder and it's like giving him the smile, and it says, "Because you're a good guy." Blah. And he's like, "That's right, Nakajima, it's all my fault. I manipulated Hiragi. I predicted that your talent had expanded and let you see your father regardless. I am skilled at committing evil acts." And he says, "If you leave this place and turn right, there's an elevator. It'll take you to the surface. I'll even arrange for a car to take you home. If you turn left to reach a research facility, I'll be waiting there ready to explain why I saved you. You're free to make either choice. However, I know you'll turn left even if you have to crawl there." So Tsuruoka leaves and goes to where he said he was. So now we go back to Nana, and at 1450 you can see Nakajima on the camera. Nana says, "Nakajima, that's him." So it's about 2 hours after this, Kiyomi shows up to kill Hikaru. It says, in the room across from Hikaru's, I found the plastic bag Nakajima was holding, as well as sweet bun wrappers and empty cans that were presumably inside it. Kyoya says, in other words, Nakajima was hiding in the room across the hall until 9 p.m. and at 9 he struck you from behind as you were standing in front of Hikaru's room. And Nana says, when I was hit, I didn't hear or sense the door behind me opening nor notice anyone coming out of that room. And then Kyoya said, what? Or Kyoya says, what? Blah. Huh. And it says, there's nowhere in that hallway for a person to hide. How did Nakajima sneak up behind you? Nana says, and this is where I got to before, where Nana says, I don't know. Kyoya says, in the first place, why is he trying to frame you? So Nana stands up, goes really close to him, and he's like, what? And she says, I'll tell you everything, pretty much. So yeah, that's chapter 54, so on to 55. Death. Alrighty then. So yeah, Talon's done in chapter 55. We got conclusion, I guess, to what was going on with the backstory for Nakajima and why he pretty much he knows everything now. That Nana had reason to try to kill him and everything, pretty much. So we got the nice color page of chapter 55. It says Moe Part 1. It's Nana laying in a bunch of these flowers that are white and red, with someone standing over her and her reaching up towards them. Presumably it's Nakajima, most likely. And so Nana tells Kyoya, what do you think of me? Kyoya's like, what do you mean? Do you still think I'm a murderer? Nana says, do you still think I'm a murderer? Kyoya says, something must have happened between Nakajima, or you and Nakajima. Nana's about to tell him, says, truth is. And then Sachiko comes in saying, help, help. And then she's like, wait, why are you guys flirting right now? And Nana's like, you got the wrong idea. Kyoya, I guess, says what's wrong, or one of them says what's wrong, and then Sachiko says Soma suddenly showed up and said to gather everyone in the hall. And then Nana says Soma, and then she says Kiyomi is. They might kill Koyomi. Or Sachiko yells, they might kill Koyomi, come with me. So she grabs both their hands, says hold on, and then she teleports them. And so we got the introduction of this new character named Soma saying, guys, think about it. Shimizu Kiyomi is a murderer, right? And then, so yeah. Seiya says, oh, Nana-chan, his name is Soma Daisuke. And Nana says, I don't recognize him. And Seiya says, he hardly ever came to class. Apparently he's bad news, according to what I've heard anyway. And you got Soma saying, someone has died, but the police won't move. Neither the teachers nor the military are doing anything. We don't know the reasons why, but cowering in fear won't achieve anything. So he's basically saying, so we should decide things for ourselves, shouldn't we establish our own system? And Seiya says, like Sachiko Chan and her teleportation ability, people who have been around for a while possess talents that are simply strong, and see how fierce he looks. And then he slams his hand down on the table and says, from now on, I'll protect you guys, but in exchange you follow my rules. How does that sound? And someone goes over and says, hey Soma, I was wondering what you'd say after suddenly showing up here, but don't be ridiculous. And then someone's like, well, isn't Saijo Takeo-kun the eternal downer second prince of class? second prince of our class. What do you mean? What do you want? And then he says, Saijo says, Hiragi-san is our leader. Stay out of this. So Saijo says, let's suppose you were the leader. What? Nah. Saijo, let's suppose you were the leader. What would you do with this murder? And he says, what would I? And Saijo, or nah, not Saijo, but Soma says I'd kill her. And everyone's like, what? Wait, what? And then Soma says, we can't hand her over to the police. And since we don't have anywhere to lock her up, it's the leader's responsibility to handle her before she does anything else, right? And he looks over at Nana and says, right, Hiragi-chan. And then Nana's like, you want to kill Kiyomi-san. And Soma's like, hey guys, unlike Hiragi, I won't sweep things under the rug. I won't say idealistic shit like, let's all work together either. And then Nana says, Kiyomi-san was manipulated by an enemy of humanity. And then Sachiko says, that's right, it's not Kiyomi's fault. And then Soma says, Sachiko, in that case, if I killed Kiyomi because I was being manipulated by an enemy of humanity, would you forgive me? And then Sachiko goes, I don't. Then she says, I don't, or she stops herself, says, I don't know. And then Nana says, Soma-san, did you want to have a discussion about whether or not she should be forgiven? And then Soma says, no, I'm talking about how we should handle Kiyomi the murderer. And then Nana's thinking this is a problem. He seems boorish, but he speaks with purpose. On top of that, he's good at talking or taking advantage of others' weakness. Is he the practical type? Nana says, very well, in that case, let's do this. I'll step down from being leader. And then Soma says, oh. And then he says, and in exchange, you're asking me to settle down. And so Sachiko-chan and I will take responsibility for Kiyomi-san. And Soma says, that's not enough. And then Nana says, then I'll nominate you for the next leader. Please spare Kiyomi-san. And Mogo says, Nana-chan, you don't need to go that far. And then Moe's like, Shinpai. And Kiyomi starts crying, saying, Hiragi-san. Soma gets, I guess frustrated or something, because he, clicks his teeth or, bites down, kind of, says, you're a shifty one, ain't you? And then he says, fine, whatever, you guys heard her right. I'll announce the new rules tomorrow. He goes over to, or past them pretty much, and says, I'll need guys with strong talents to help me. If I ask you to come see me immediately. He puts his hand on Sachiko's shoulder and says, especially you, Sachiko, you're first. And so yeah, then it goes just time passes, I guess, as everyone's leaving. So they're all huddled together pretty much. And then it says, or not Sachiko, but Kiyomi's saying, thank you, Hiragi-san, for saving me. And then she says it's fine. And she's like, it truly isn't your fault. And Soma says, thanks for all your hard work until now, Miss Previous Leader. Leading these monkeys must have been exhausting. I'm already sick of it. And then Nana says, is there anything else you need, leader? And then he says, I don't like you. It didn't bother me. It didn't bother me when monkeys like Tsunakichi and Yuka died on the island, but even the old town Koharu is gone now. You seem suspicious. And Nana says, and? So yeah, he says, do you know what monkeys do to their previous leader when a new monkey becomes the king of the hill? And then I was like, are you threatening to kill me? Blah. And he says, not right away. You may have been rotten, but it seems like you were good at getting people to like you. And then Nana says, in that case, I'll be careful when walking around at night. And then someone says, heh, and then turns around and leaves, and she's thinking more problems to deal with. And then Kyoya says, what a dangerous guy. He says, anyway, Hiragi, should we continue our conversation? And then Nana says, no, another time, please. And then we see Saijo just kind of looking at them from a distance. He doesn't really say anything, but he seems like he's got stuff on his mind. So now we go to Nana and Moe in her room. She's got a notebook or something, and then she's thinking about everything. Soroka, Nakajima-san's shadow, enemies of humanity, is my murders. And then she is like, should I tell everyone the truth as soon as possible, but how will our new leader Soma respond? Wouldn't I simply be found guilty and that would be the end of it? What happens after I tell Kyoya? Was I simply shaken by Nakajima-san's appearance and wanted to lean on Kyoya? And she's like, puts her hand to her head, and then Moe's like, Shinpai, cheer up. Is there any reason to be depressed over not being the leader anymore? So yeah, she's just a bundle of energy. And then Nana says, Moe, you've never killed anyone, have you? And then she says, nope. And she looks like kind of confused, or she has like a question mark, and Nana says, that's good, as she's like smiling at her. And Moe says, come on, hurry, Shinpai. Let's think of a way we can kill Tsuruoka-san. And so yeah, Nana's like, so simple, and then the teacher like knocks on her door, says, excuse me for a minute, is Moe-chan here? And then she says, yes. And the teacher says, Tsuruoka-san he apparently asked to see Moe-chan, and then Moe's like, me? And the teacher says, he said it's urgent. So the teacher says, in any case, that's the message. And she's like, Shinpai, you can count on me. I am 150% on your side now. And she's like beaming pretty much, or like sparkling. Nana's looking on with worry. We go to Soroka, and he says, I've been informed that Makabe Sachio is in critical condition. So yeah, pretty much Grandma. Her Moe's like, Grandma, she's sick. What is it? And then says, like Nakajima's like in the background pretty much behind her, so she probably can't probably doesn't notice him there, since he can like nullify if people see him or not. So Soroka says, so accordingly, and then we see Nakajima, like I said, is like behind her looking at her. He's like up against the wall pretty much, just with his arms crossed, and he's like staring at her. So yeah, chapter 56. So yeah, just new characters all around pretty much for this new area. So yeah, chapter 56 got a nice like color cover thing of Kyoya, Nakajima, Moe, and Nana, with like Nakajima like in the back, like looking, was like back turned, and Nana kind of in the front. And so this is Moe part 2. So Moe immediately rushes out of the room. So yeah, like I thought, she can't notice him, or she doesn't notice him. And so Nakajima's like, why do you want her to owe you a favor? To which Tsuruoka says, I've known her grandmother Makabe Sachio for close to 20 years. In Sachio's presence, I've always played the good man. I want her to die still believing that. And Nakajima just like, how tasteful. Or like Tsuruoka like lights a cigarette, and then Nakajima says, how tasteful. Tsuruoka says, do you know why our efforts to quarantine talented individuals on the island and slaughter them have never been publicly exposed on a large scale? Nakajima says, isn't it because you government officials have covered it up? Tsuruoka says, you're not wrong. There's a team supporting the council in the media and online that spreads disinformation, but they're not particularly zealous about their job. After all, people believe what they want to believe and hear what they want to hear. Why believe your own country is killing young boys and girls? How would that benefit them? Nakajima says, but you're trying to expose that fact. And it says, by working with that shady politician. And then Suroka says, what that old man wants is an incident caused by talented individuals that will shake the world. Mishima Koharu is missing, Daichi Hikaru was killed, and ominous atmosphere must be spreading among the talented individuals at the school. And Nakajima says, even though they've escaped the island, an enemy of humanity is still nearby, and he points at himself. And then Suroka says, it's nearly time. And he says, what do you think of their new leader? And he's like, oh, Soma Daisuke-kun, right? And he says, this afternoon I settled things with him. So we go into a flashback of Daisuke getting out of his car, and then Nakajima shows up in front of him and says, hey Daisuke-kun, remember me? And he's like, you. And then he's like, did you buy this car? And Daisuke is later. Someone's like, some idiot was blowing his horn while I was walking on the road when I dragged him out of the driver's seat and taught him a lesson. He offered me his car. And Nakajima was looking at him, was so scary. The old me wouldn't have been able to talk to you. And someone was then shut up. I have no interest in small fry, alive or dead. And Nakajima says, but I'm interested in you, Daisuke-kun. You're totally indifferent to the incidents at school, and since you left the island, you seem to be trying to start some kind of sketchy business. And someone was like, I just raided a phone fraud office and took over the place, what about it? And Nakajima says, you couldn't even get a part-time job on the island, so you look lonely, or you like money. And then he I guess probably it zooms in on his eyes. Soma grits his teeth, or clacks his teeth or something, and then it says, money and power, just your run-of-the-mill, uneducated thug who wants to be on top. That's me. Then Nakajima says, but we already have special powers. What I want, or someone says, what I want, power to control people and force them into submission in extreme cases. In extreme cases, the ability to get away with stealing a car using violence, that kind of power. And he says, as individuals, we're special, but we don't stand a chance against a group of humans. As talented individuals, basically, we're special, but we don't stand a chance if they're a bunch of humans grouped up together. Even the most powerful, talented individuals die if they're sniped by someone from too far away, if they're sniped by someone too far away to notice. The stupid attention-seeking monkeys who don't get that can have fun enjoying their adolescence with each other. And then Nakajima just laughs. Says, so are monkeys, huh? Well put. Then why not become the zookeeper? And he says, Suroka and the military would back you now. Apparently they think Nana-chan is unreliable. And Soma, I guess, puts his hand, does something that says, for a long time, I've always wondered if there was some way for me to make the monkeys dance. The military seems shady to me, but if they'll clean up my messes when then it's not a bad deal, but nah. And it's Nakajima, why don't you become the leader? And he says, because I hate everyone. And someone says, so you want to use me? And he's like, alright, just so happens that I'm bored. And Suroka says, we go back to the present, seemingly, and says, did you control someone with your talent? And Nakajima says, when I first approached him, I thought I would. And he says, he's always been a bit screwy. He's the type of guy who wouldn't hesitate to kill someone for his own benefit. And it says, seriously, talented individuals are all bad guys. So we got Kiyomi with Nana, and it says Kiyomi saying alright then, or Nana saying alright then, Kiyomi-san. If you need anything, let me know. And it says, I'm so sorry for everything. And then Kiyomi says, because of me, you're not the leader anymore. And then Nana says, it's fine. It won't change what I do. Are you going on patrol? And it says, yes, see you later. And Moe comes yelling, Shinpai, Shinpai, panicking. It says, blah, 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 panic, panic, panic. And then Nana says, what? Your grandmother? And then Nana says, but she seems so healthy. And Moe's like, you've met her? And then she says, yes, I ran into her around town. And Moe's like, why didn't you tell me? And then she says, Nana says, it was never the right timing. Moe says, in any case, I'll be leaving school for a while, Shinpai. Will you be okay without me? And then Nana's like, you don't need to worry about me. And she says, Moe says, Sir Okusan gave me this money, but that's not enough to win me over. And besides, Grandma is a tough lady. I'll be back soon. And then Nana's like, thanks, Moe-chan, but you should hurry. And then she says, the train is coming. And then she thinks about her grandma. And then Nana thinks about the grandma and says, she was a wonderful person. I hope it's not serious. And then as Moe is like running through the town, running through the town trying to get to the train, she's thinking, I won't make it in time. So she's like, I'll take a shortcut. So she hops over this fence, runs into this alley, runs through this alley, and now she's like on this like road that looks like it's in a park or something. And then immediately there's like a loud crash, and so when she turns around to look back, you see someone standing over a body and going, heh. It says, come on, Saijo-kun, what a pathetic way to die. And Moe screams, and someone says, who's there? Come on out. It says, Moe is in a hurry. And blah, and it says, And then we see that it was Soma who has just killed Saijo. So yeah, now we're on chapter 57, the latest chapter. So yeah, now we're on the latest chapter. So we're all caught up now, once we finish this one anyway. So yeah, a lot of stuff has changed, I guess. Changed it, or like, I'm not sure how to put it. But yeah, it's like a different vibe now. Since Nana has like changed and is trying to is now on the side of the talented pretty much, or she like wants to save them, but she knows what she did was wrong, so she doesn't know how to really tell them or if they'll like believe her or anything. So this is chapter 57, Moe part 3. And so yeah, we start off where everyone's heard about the car accident. And Sachiko says, you know Saijo, right? He was the one that died who defied Soma yesterday. And then Nana thinks of Saijo, and Sachiko says he was killed in an accident. And then Nana says he was killed in an accident. Sachiko says, yeah, Soma and Kyoya are already investigating his death. And then Sachiko says, Nana, you'll join them, won't you? And she like puts on her little puts her like ribbon things on, or she like removed her bloody head bandage pretty much, yeah. So she's putting back her hair the way it was. So they teleport to the crime scene. They teleport to the crime scene, and Sachiko or Nana says, I heard there was an accident. And says, did you call the police? And then Soma says, they were here until a moment ago. So yeah, Soma says, when they learned that the victim was talented, they said the army would show up and left. And Nana says, has the driver who caused the accident turned themselves in. Soma says the culprit abandoned their car and is currently at large. And then it says Kyoya says a cerebral contusion. I think that's the cause of death. Judging by the spider crack in the windshield, he was probably struck his head quite hard. It says Saijo then flew over the roof of the car and was thrown onto the ground. And then Soma says, when did he die? And then Kyoya says, I'm not sure exactly, but probably last night. And then Soma says, the circumstances are strange for just an accident. Kyoya says, oh, and then Soma says, why does Saijo leave school in the middle of the night, come to this deserted place, and why was he run down by an idiot and just happened to be speeding down this road? And Kyoya's like, you're right. It's a bit too unfortunate for a coincidence. But someone says, we'll find the car's owner sooner if we go through the police. Someone says, I'll handle that. And then he says, at the same time, we'll investigate Saijo's everyday life. You know what that means, don't you? We'll operate under the assumption that this was a murder. Kyoya says, yeah. And then someone says, what? Kyoya says, nothing, I'm just impressed. You leader, you're efficient. And Saijo says, let's all combine our efforts and work together. And then he says, would you have preferred that I say that? And he looks at Nana and says, would you have preferred I say that? And he says, hey you can read the thoughts of the dead, right? Tell us, who killed Saijo? Nana says, I don't know. And then someone's like, hear that, Sachiko, Onodera, Sora, no. Yeah. She can't read minds. And someone says she's probably hiding whatever her actual shitty talent is. And then Sachiko just kind of smiles very nervously and says, well, there's no point in arguing. And she's hiding behind Nana pretty much. When she says that, Nana says, I'm going to check out the crime scene. And she looks at the car and says, for the killer wasn't someone tall, is that right? And someone says, they were probably right around your height, don't you think? And it comes up behind Nana and she says, it's possible they disguised the evidence to appear that way. And then he says, by the way, where's Makabe? And then Nana's like, what about Moe-chan? And then someone's like, isn't she your little sycophant? I don't know what that word means. Yeah. Then he says, apparently everyone who associates with you either dies or goes missing. And then Nana's silent for a moment, says, she said that she was going home and left school late last night. And then, blah. Or someone's thinking, I wasn't expecting anyone to see me, I can handle it. No matter what that brat says, eyewitness testimony is always plagued by credibility issues. And then Kyoya, I'll become Soma, but Kyoya says, if only a witness would come forward. And then he looks off into the distance. And then you have the wind blow by, showing no one is pretty much deserted. Kyoya's seems unlikely. And then Soma just goes, well, I'll just have to take care of Makabe. And he cracks his hands. He goes like that and cracks his fingers, I guess. And so then we got Moe walking down this dirt road, thinking she's saying, culprit is Soma-kun, I heard his voice clearly. Once I check on my grandma, I'll return right away and report to Shinpai. And it's you did it. It's I'll play a key role, and then it's got Moe pointing at her saying, you did it. There's this thing of she's looking off at the mountains, and you got Nana in the back behind him looking at her. And so she kicks a rock, goes into her grandma's house where it's She says, "Grandma, it's Moe, I'm home," and then it's like silent. Or I say silent, but yeah, like no one's here is what it feels like. So she walks by a window that's open and says, "Grandma." And when she opens the door, we see that her grandma is like on the ground, like in her breath, like heaving basically, or like gasping from air, it looks like. And so Moe just yells, "Grandma," and that's the end of the chapter. So yeah, we're caught up. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to wait till the next chapter comes out to know what happens. But yeah, Soma is pretty much seemingly working with Nakajima to try to tear Nana down. But overall, pretty great chapter. Hope y'all enjoy the reactions, or hope y'all enjoyed these reactions. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment on the video, subscribe for more anime reaction reviews and manga reviews. Check out the links down below to my Twitter, Twitch, and Discord. Hit that notification bell. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time. So yeah, later.